Our next panel is called Youngpreneurs, or Young Entrepreneurs. And we're very lucky for this to actually have a fantastic set of speakers who are going to come up and talk. And I don't know where they're all hiding, so I hope they all come up to the stage. Okay, you're over here. So why don't you join me first in welcoming our moderator for the panel from Peak Games and Yemekiraq, Rina, Onur. Come on up to the stage. And then we'll bring up all three of her speakers, and I think there'll be giant faces of them that will appear here at some point. We'll get the timing of it right. This is Emir Bahadır from RLTY NYC, Bünyamin Aydın from Les Benyamins, and Alican Özsoy, the co-founder of Streaking. Why don't all three of you guys come on up?
All right, welcome everyone, probably the 10th time today. Thank you for sticking around right before lunch and being open, generous, and humble enough to think that there's something to be heard and possibly learn from a bunch of 20-something-year-olds. Hopefully, we'll have a productive discussion for you today. So before we start, I know you guys, but probably not everyone in the audience does. Can you tell me a little bit about what you do and how you come to where you are right now?
Sure. Well, basically, I was born in Germany. I lived 12 years over there, and then we decided to move to Turkey in 2000. And then they suddenly sent me to Switzerland. You're going to boarding school.
Got rid of you that fast.
And then I finished my high school over there. And it's actually a very special place for me because it's where I started my brand. So I was on the ping pong table, and I was thinking about designing t-shirts and gifting it to friends, and no business idea behind it. And it basically started over there. But I didn't realize it back then. Then I went into international relations in Geneva University. I quit it. I came over here to Bahçeşehir University. I studied 1 year advertisement, and I said, that's not my thing as well. And I quit university, and I said, I'm launching my own fashion brand. And that's when it started becoming professional. And yeah.
Wonderful. Alican, I think a similar story to yours.
Yeah, I think we all have pretty much similar stories with our backgrounds. Well, hi, first of all. My name is Alican, and I was born in Istanbul. And right now I live in Paris. I'm currently directing a restaurant called Staking and a whiskey bar and a cigar lounge. It's kind of a unique place. I think that's the reason why I'm here. I'm an entrepreneur since the age of 19, and I have to thank my family for that, because I've been living abroad since the age of 15. I think that was one of the most important turning points in my life, getting to know people from all around the world and building up a network and enhancing my vision. And I think that's about it.
Emir, and then you with your RLTY NYC. Tell us a little bit about that.
So for those who doesn't know about me, I'm from Istanbul. I grew up in Switzerland as well with Bünyamin actually. And then I completed my college degree at NYU, majored in business and technology management. And technology management actually is about invention, innovation, and entrepreneurship. So those are the majors that I've done. And currently I'm the CEO of RLTY NYC and Florida, which soon will be under RLTY International. Besides from that, I also have a technology company that I started at my second year at NYU, and now we've been growing the company, and now we just launched in DC, New York, and London as well. That's pretty much me.
Wonderful. Thanks for introductions, and I definitely want to come back to that. Alican, so out of all the things that you could do, you've decided to build a restaurant in the middle of Paris, one of the oldest culinary institutes in the world. How did you think you could differentiate yourself?
Well, first of all, I've always tried to chase my dreams. So since a very young age, since about when I was 14, 15, I always wanted to open a restaurant. Welcome my friends, host my friends and other people, get to know new people. So I think I love my job, first of all. How did I get to this point? Well, basically, even though, as you said, Paris is a center of culinary in the world, one of the centers of culinary in the world, I think Paris is still lacking a lot of things about culinary, because they're very classic-minded about culinary, and they're missing out in a lot of trends in food and beverage industry. Unlike London, unlike New York, unlike Berlin, unlike Istanbul, I think Paris is still lacking a lot of things, and I think we found a little market gap. We opened a decent steakhouse, a steak bar. I partnered up with a very, very good chef who's also a young entrepreneur, we could call him. He's my age, he's 27 as well. We differentiate ourselves by basically allowing people, I know it doesn't sound good, but allowing them to smoke cigars or cigarettes while they drink. Because we have a bar, we have a whiskey bar basically. We have a huge collection of whiskey. And the bizarre thing was, French are basically the biggest consumers of whiskey in the world. And I came up with that, I saw that when I was actually researching for this restaurant, because we had the place. Somebody asked me, who is my partner today, well, we have a beautiful building in Saint-Germain. For those of you who know Paris a little bit, it's a very great location. And he said, what can we do about this place? Because they had a restaurant there that went bankrupt, and he came and found me, as I've studied hospitality management before, and I was studying entrepreneurship together with this gentleman. We decided to make this our finishing thesis in entrepreneurship major. And I said, well, this building is just out of this world, and how come it's empty and you're not doing anything in it? And then I started researching, as I said, and I saw that French are the biggest consumers of whiskey. And I said, whiskey bars in Paris, type it in Google, and there was nothing. There was one or two places that sell good whiskeys. I went there, I checked it, and it was actually super vague, and it was not dedicated to whiskey only. So we said, why don't we make a whiskey bar? If these guys are the biggest consumers of whiskey, let's do it. And then through personal networks, through luck, we managed getting a license for allowing people to smoke in one of our floors in the building. And that made us differentiate ourselves from other restaurants in Paris. And right now, we're the only place that you can drink, eat, smoke without becoming a member. So it's not a members-only place. And we're happy about it.
Wonderful. Simple logic worked out.
Yeah.
Emir, you took a different path. I think simple logic would state that, hailing from a big real estate legacy background coming from your family, the conventional path would be to try to grow under that umbrella, maybe in the shadows of your parents. But instead, you chose something else. You chose to build something new in a market that wasn't your home and in a very cutthroat place like New York. Why?
So it definitely could have been the easier way to do so. However, since I was a little kid, I always preferred to challenge myself and rather be respected for who I am and what I can and cannot do. That being said, whether it be education, personal affairs, or competitions that I attended, I always competed myself with someone stronger, someone more competitive, and something more difficult than what I was capable of. And during my education at NYU, I worked at a variety of real estate companies and found out that every one of them was missing the key ingredient for success of today's businesses, which is technology. And with my education, obviously, I gathered a team of tech geniuses, not including myself, because I'm not. So basically, we started to incorporate technology into real estate, where the agents, clients, everyone can communicate with one another seamlessly. And pretty much that's the reason why it was about the timing, whether the right opportunity presents itself or I was prepared. And it was about time before I started RLTY NYC. And the quote that I picked also by Audrey Hepburn says, "Nothing is impossible." The word itself says, "I'm possible." And that's my motto of life.
I love that. Bünyamin, coming back to you, you're obviously very young, and in a very short amount of time, you've built a very successful business. And Turkey is known to be a production hub for apparel and fashion in the world, but we haven't come up with a few single brand that has massive global reach. And you're on the path to do that. Do you think your age helps you in any way or holds you back with what you do?
I think, as some of you guys know, that I actually come from a production family. So they used to produce beautiful garments for brands, and I decided to do it on my own, where we have our own brand from Turkey, from Istanbul, that becomes global. And being at this age, I think it's very important, especially in the fashion industry, where the digital age is kind of a bit, let's say, they don't want to engage with technology. So where we make a difference is where we take our orders on iPads, we are very tech aware, our team is always on WhatsApp and like different apps that helps us like cut big amounts of time and be more efficient. And I think nowadays fashion really needs an evolution. That's why we have now all the fashion shows turning into in season, like Burberry, Tom Ford, and all the brands they're doing now in season, because the system doesn't work anymore. I mean, you have people like post stuff, like right now, probably someone is posting this right now, and somewhere around the world, someone is listening to it. How are you going to do a catwalk and then release it in 6 months later? I mean, things have to change. And I think being at this age, it gives me a real big advantage.
Do you think your target demographic ages with you as you grow?
No, well, I think there's no segmentation anymore in the world. I think anyone who wants to feel young can wear a streetwear brand or can engage. I mean, I don't believe in segmentation.
Wonderful. Alican, now you're running one of the most successful restaurants in Paris. You're obviously in a good place. But 10 years ago, when you first started with your other endeavors, maybe that wasn't the case. So knowing what you know now, based on your past 10 years experience, what would you tell your younger self?
Well, that's a great question. I would say there's no such thing as being good enough of an entrepreneur. You can always be better. So I would say keep on improving. I would say come up with something that is disruptive and that's out of the norm. So find something unique. Believe in your idea. I would say take risks. I think we would all say that. Don't be scared to take risks. Not only financially, but also time, energy, risks. I would say be social. So keep on building a network for yourself. I think that is, in my case, in my industry, it's a super important thing. And that's one of the reasons why I love my job, because I keep on meeting people. I'm not in an office seeing the same people every day. I'm in a restaurant, in a bar. I keep on meeting new people, and some of them probably are here. I love it, and that opens new doors. So I think I would say keep on pushing the doors and see what's inside, and don't be scared. And I would say keep on dreaming and keep on believing on the fact that your dreams can actually come true if you execute them properly.
Emir, I know that most of the time with your business, with your line of work, your perception is your reality. So your image and having that an attainable or successful image is a big part of what you do. But I'm sure it wasn't like this all the way coming here. You must have had some failures, some face plants. Tell us, a little bit about some of the difficulties you faced.
I see every day as a new challenge, and my biggest challenge still has been my young age. I'm 24 years old, and yet I'm selling the most expensive buildings in New York City, and now we're spreading to another state, Florida. That being said, the responsibility that I've had since at a young age was really stressful. Starting a business, dealing with other colleagues or employees that are maybe 50, 60 years old, asking me questions, and I had to be prepared and ready to answer all these questions. That's been my biggest challenge, and I wanted to be respected by them, not only because I founded the business, but also I could help them with my knowledge and my professionalism. And I'm still trying to advance myself. I'm learning to say no to my friends in order to be more successful and responsible in business. And I do believe that perfection exists, but it takes a lifetime to reach.
All right, from difficulties to a little bit fun. Something that I've always struggled, I guess as an entrepreneur or an individual, was, this notion that people talk about work-life balance. And I would turn around and say, what life? As an entrepreneur, I didn't seem to have it. Knowing you personally, outside of the context of all of this, and I think anyone who knows you can attest to that, you're the life of the party, always, everywhere. So how do you keep that balance? How do you work so hard, but also manage to have a very vibrant social life?
I believe that a successful life is the perfect balance, and it should be between social and professional life. To me, whether I was studying, I was in Switzerland, no one told me to, you have to study, you can't travel. I traveled every single weekend. I had a lot of international friends, and I had to keep up with my friends. So I was on my own to make decisions when to study and how to get good grades, and also be social as I am. I feel like I learned how to balance my life, and that's key to my social life and my professional life going tete-a-tete.
Bünyamin, back to you. I think you know how I'm in awe of what you do. Building a global-facing fashion line, global-facing business at such a young age, which is very difficult to do historically, being based in Turkey.
Yeah.
There are not a lot of examples to that. And we talk about often, the advantages and disadvantages of being based here, being a Turkish brand in your specific line of work. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. Well, basically, being out from Turkey is, first of all, the most difficult thing to create a global brand, because the global cities in fashion are Paris, Milan, New York, and London. And being physically away is already, you start with -10. So being from Turkey and doing something global in Paris and in Milan is definitely difficult. First of all, for you to be accepted and to create a network over there from here. Apart from that, you being Turkish is also something new to people in the fashion scene. So first of all, they're trying to get to know what's going on over there. The good thing is, though, because we are Turkish and we have this Oriental culture and background, it differentiates you automatically. But at the same time, Turkey being in the middle of East and West, which is also part of my DNA, having lived in Europe 16 years and here more than 10 years, I have that mix of cultures and those clashes of cultures in me. And I think that is really what differentiates me as a designer and what excites other people abroad. But definitely, to do something from here is difficult.
But not impossible.
Not impossible. It's a lot of work. You got to work more than the others. But that also is kind of pushing me to do more. And also, what excites me the most is to inspire other people, not necessarily in fashion, but on other industries, to create their own thing, to create their own brand from Turkey and become global. I think you should not be afraid. You should take risks, and somehow you're going to get there.
Wonderful. We're good with that. Challenge is always fun. Alican, I'm going to be selfish and ask you another thing that I've also kind of struggled as an entrepreneur. Two things. Doing something you love when you're very young can be tricky because you often need to hire someone older than you in a critical position, or have to place a boundary while doing something you love, social and professional. How do you deal with that in the entertainment management business?
Well, first of all, you have to love what you do anyhow. So you have to kind of enjoy what you do. So that was not the real challenge, but the real challenge is becoming a manager at a young age. Managing people, hiring people, building up a team, delegating tasks. That was a big challenge for me. I've always been someone social, well, even though I sweat a little bit here when I talk all in front of all of you. But I think being social, and what Emir said was balance. I think balance is the key word here. Balancing everything. Basically, you have to balance you have to establish a very clear communication between you and your colleagues and your staff and your partners. You have to be friendly sometimes. You have to be very strict other times. So you have to find the right balance. And restaurant business is something that is very hands-on. So you actually constantly speak with each other. You have to constantly communicate with each other. You have to pay attention to detail. If they don't, you have to show them. But once you're young, I never liked giving orders. I think nobody here does. I mean, it's not polite. But sometimes you have to give an order because it has to be quick and there's a rush hour at the restaurant. It's full, it's packed, there's someone important, another table important. You gotta say, hey, bring this over here. It doesn't sound nice. And especially when you're younger than them, or especially when you're young, they say, who is he to give me an order? But once they understand that you actually are good at your job, you actually gain their respect. So giving orders become much easier, but you still have to find the right balance. I had a lot of times, especially in the first 6 months of my restaurant, it was the biggest challenge for me. I've hired, I fired, I hired, I fired, and it was not nice. But I had to create the correct team to be able to make that restaurant run properly. So there were a lot of times after service, I was like, come on guys, let's all have whiskey upstairs, because it was a great service today. Because you have to do that. In another restaurant, they probably wouldn't, because it would A, cost you money, B, cost you time, C, you want to go home because it's already 3 o'clock in the morning. But you have to do that in order to create a proper friendship and business partnership, let's say.
Wonderful. So we're coming close to our panel right now, and I know there's a big participation from young hopefuls who have great ideas and who want to be entrepreneurs one day, along with seasoned businessmen and women in the audience. So as we wrap up, as young people, what advice would you want to give to these young, hopeful boys and girls? Bünyamin.
Fail, fail, and fail more until you succeed.
Wonderful. Emir.
I'm gonna go with the cliche that actually helps me with my life. Think out of the box. And with the generation differences today, don't get discouraged by the elder generation when they say that it's not worth it to go through all the stress and the challenges, because I've seen that my friends were turned down and now their projects are worth billions of dollars.
Well, I would say it will be a bit repetitive, but I would say be passionate about your idea. An entrepreneur does not necessarily have to find the best idea. I'm an entrepreneur. I run a restaurant. It's a very good restaurant, but it's not rocket science at the end. It's just a restaurant. It's a small business. I love my job, but it's not a very unique idea. But you have to find an idea that meets the market needs, that fulfills the market needs. So I would say find a good idea, be passionate about it. I would say remember that it's always about the customer. So you have to do empathy. You have to put yourself into the position of the customer. I would say, especially to the young people out here who might want to become an entrepreneur one day, I would say you don't need a lot of money or capital to execute a good idea. You just need to have a solid plan to execute your idea. That might be networking. That might be writing a flawless business plan and marketing that business plan to the right people. But you don't need the money. I didn't invest a dime in my business. So I think that is the key motivation, because in Turkey and all over the world, young entrepreneurs has the point of view that, oh, I have a great idea, or I have millions of great ideas, but I don't have the money. You don't need that. You don't need that today. In 2016, you don't need that. And I would say, forget about working on your weaknesses, but find your strengths and go with them. So put your ideas together with your strengths and your character. And I'd say being an entrepreneur is like playing roulette in a way. The more chips you put on more numbers, the more probability and odds of winning you have. So don't just put your chip on one number and wait that odd of 1 out of 37 to come, but put them at least on 10 of them so you have a little bit more odds of winning. So I would say take risks, but also minimize them from time to time.
So I think one thing we agree is that it's a lonely individual path, but there's a lot of help out there. Go to Sina, go to Nevzat, go to anyone. You're going to get help. So just go for it. You're young. You have nothing to lose. Thank you so much for joining us. Congratulations to each and every one of you. Just keep doing what you're doing and crush it. Thank you.
Thank you.